Persona games are no strangers to spin-offs. Persona 4 alone got 2 fighters, 2 crossover dungeon crawlers, and even a rhythm game, so it's unsurprising, given the success of Persona 5, that the trend is now continuing, as it has also taken part in a dungeon crawler and had its own rhythm title. Neither are necessary to play from a story perspective, and instead offer more time with these characters that fans have grown to love. It's the way it is with most of these spin-offs, at least until Persona 5 Strikers. Positioned as an actual sequel to the events of the original game, Strikers was co-developed by Koei Tecmo, introducing the warrior-style gameplay to the world of Persona. It's something that's worked before for The Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest, and Fire Emblem, but does the style even fit Persona? Strikers picks up several months after the end of Persona 5, with Joker returning to Tokyo for a reunion with the Phantom Thieves over summer vacation. However, the meetup is soon sidelined when the alternate world known as the Metaverse reappears and a new kind of threat known as jails emerge. The rulers of these jails, known as monarchs, are stealing the desires of the masses, forcing them to become completely devoted in the real world. Not only that, but the Phantom Thieves now have to travel across Japan to hunt down more monarchs while clearing their name with the police. There were 2 elements I struggled with while playing through Striker's story. Does it actually feel like a sequel, and can newcomers enjoy it even if they've never played the original, which is especially pertinent for Switch owners? I'll begin with the first question because early on it felt more like a sequel movie trying to recapture the magic than a true follow-up to the original. There were nods to what happened before, and it was great seeing the characters together again, but the stakes just weren't quite there. It all began to feel repetitious and insignificant. However, when I reached the 4th jail, the story began to really take off with greater stakes and a better sense of what the ultimate goal was. I think any fan of Persona 5 will enjoy Striker's story, and especially how many of the characters have changed. If they were underserved in the original, they were given a bit more character in Strikers, which is a welcome inclusion for fans of Yusuke and Haru, who are both given their own arcs. As for whether the game is newcomer friendly, I believe it is, as long as you don't mind mild references to the events of Persona 5. Character mentions in similar situations are the most common spoiler, but they never go in depth enough to ruin those moments outside a few instances. None of the major twists are ever revealed though, so you can rest easy if that was a concern. The characters are also as likable as ever, making it easy to click with each of their personalities and just lose yourself in the adventure. The great thing about Striker's story is that it perfectly captures the feeling of a road trip vacation. Seeing the sights, trying the food, the long drives, it all made me long for my own trip to Japan. And it doesn't hurt that the game can be incredibly funny, with extremely likable characters in the form of the mysterious AI Sophia and the public security officer Zenkichi. While no moment hits as hard as the biggest twist of Persona 5, I still enjoyed the story it wanted to tell. But what of the gameplay, as Persona in the Warriors style is a marriage that never really crossed my mind before this game? Well, that's the thing. Strikers doesn't feel like any Warriors game I've ever played before, which makes sense. This isn't a world conducive to massive battles between armies. This is a group of thieves exploring the metaverse and finding the keys they need in order to confront the Monarch. Big battles aren't really their thing. You still string together a series of weak attacks that end off with a heavy strike to complete a combo with varying effects, and there are moments when there are tons of enemies on screen, but for the most part, it feels more like a Persona action RPG. Players still mostly sneak around the jail using the environment to hide and finding the right moment to ambush the shadows on patrol. Initiating the fight brings out roughly 5 to 10 enemies that must then be defeated to continue on. On top of basic combos, each Phantom Thief can dodge, dash, jump, fire their guns, and even use the environment in some cases to clear out a wider swath in their way. But most importantly, their personas can be brought out at any time, which immediately pauses the action, providing as much time as needed to decide on what attacks to use and where to use them. It really feels like the perfect melding of the two, especially in how the game is built off these basics. Every environment has some kind of item to interact with, providing escape opportunities that keep the action fast and frenetic despite the lower numbers. Each shadow also has their own strengths and weaknesses that can be taken advantage of for even greater attacks. Striking these weaknesses downs the shadow and allows for an all-out attack that draws in and damages all nearby enemies. However, there are some larger shadows with a much higher defense threshold, requiring many more attacks to that weakness, but the all-out attack is also that much more powerful. Finally, there's the special gauge, which is referred to as Showtime, and features an over-the-top attack that can clear rooms of enemies with ease. Like the original game, Joker is unique in that he can equip multiple personas and switch between them at will. However, the way he obtains those personas is a bit different, as defeated shadows will occasionally drop masks in battle. This will grant access to that shadow's persona unless you already have the max amount. In that case, the masks are converted to persona points, which can be spent in the Velvet Room to increase a persona's level to match Joker's, or eventually increase their individual stats. It makes for an easy and ever-moving system, something that's also reflected in the return of persona fusions. Rather than mixing and matching at random to discover new personas, a list is always provided showing which personas have to be fused at which level to achieve the result. Even better, if you don't currently have the required persona in your lineup, you can pay the fee right there to summon and immediately fuse them. It never feels like a slog, and is honestly something I'd like the main series to adopt in the future. And that's all there really is to it when it comes to the basics of Persona 5 Strikers gameplay. There's a lot more verticality to the level design compared to other Warriors games, and even features some minor 2D platforming, but it all feels like part of this world. Characters still level up, learn new abilities, and manage what's available to them, though it is possible to change that at any time. Every character feels unique as well, with a variety of styles represented, whether it's Yusuke's counter-based swordplay, Haru's heavy axe swings, or Makoto's brawler style. Thankfully, characters level up together even when not in the main party of 4, though your party does receive more of the experience. It makes it easy to stick with your favorites if you so choose. That said, I don't recommend that approach because the game can be surprisingly challenging. Even just on normal, I found myself dying a lot, namely against bigger groups of enemies or mini-bosses. There's often a lot going on at once, and unlike other Warriors games, the enemies don't just stand around. They can wallop you one after another, draining your HP shockingly fast. This is made all the worse when facing a set of enemies that you just don't have their weaknesses to. It can be done, but it takes way longer, which is especially apparent when I shift my party to account for those weaknesses and destroy them with almost no issue. It's unfortunate that I can't switch on the fly, as it makes these encounters feel like guesswork. I should also note that items ended up feeling much more important in Strikers. While I could exit the jails at any checkpoint for a full heal, this didn't help during boss fights. I found myself blowing through SP as I hammered out their weaknesses and needing the items to either heal or recover SP to keep using those spells. It may all seem like a lot, but man, I don't think I've ever had quite the same thrill during a Warriors game than I have with Strikers. When every element comes together, pulling off a combo, dodging at the right moment for a counterattack, laying on damage with spells, switching to just the right character, it feels utterly satisfying, especially during the times when the game unleashes wave after wave of enemies to defeat. Outside of combat, Joker can explore the various cities around Japan, though they're usually only about 2 screens large. Still, there's a lot of shops to see, as well as requests to complete that expand Sophia's online shop, unlock new recipes, or increase Bond experience. It's through Sophia that weapons and protectors can be bought at any time, along with plenty of accessory and item options. New recipes allow Joker to use ingredients to cook special food that usually have better results than the items from stores, and constantly serve to make me hungry thanks to the descriptions. Finally, the bond system serves as a kind of replacement for confidants. As the Phantom Thieves hang out, fight enemies, and complete tasks together, they'll earn bond points that can be spent on increasing stats, increasing the potency of showtimes, restoring health from ambushes, and much more. It allows for players to emphasize their own style, and added a bit of extra thought in how I develop my party. Persona 5 Strikers perfectly captures the look of the original game. Each character looks good, and the same sense of style oozes from the menus and combat. Locations are varied, and I barely ever noticed a hint of slowdown, though that might be due to selecting frame rate over graphics in the options. I initially started playing Persona 5 on PS4, where it ran just fine, though I did notice faster load times when I switched to the PS5. As for the Switch version, I did play that when it was released as Scramble in Japan last year, but only in the first dungeon. It seemed to run perfectly fine, with the biggest difference being longer load times. The music is also a joy to listen to, with plenty of nostalgic tracks, new remixes, and brand new songs. Each song made it feel like a true Persona 5 sequel, though it didn't hurt to have the cast return. All of them absolutely nail the roles, though Sophia became a standout for me in just how adorable she could be. Like I said before though, the game can be really funny, and the vocal performances really did help sell the jokes. The only problem I've encountered, and have seen complaints from others, is that the sound mixing isn't the greatest. Oftentimes it seems as if the vocal levels raise and lower on a whim, and many times they can be a little hard to hear over the music. It never became a big issue, but it did distract me when I first began playing. Whatever nitpicks I have though, I really did have a blast with Persona 5 Strikers. Unlike most other Warriors games where it feels like the aesthetics of the collaboration are pasted over the usual gameplay, Strikers comes across more as a Persona game with a different style of combat. It can be absolutely thrilling at times despite a story that takes a while to pick up. If you haven't played Persona before, I think it's worth trying even despite the minor spoilers for the original. If you're already a fan, this is a great reunion with plenty to do across its 50-hour story and host of post-game content. I highly recommend checking it out for yourself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this review, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming so we can create more videos like this in the future. All of your support truly means the world, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and we'll catch you on Good Vibes Gaming next time. Bye!